The following conversations are taken from our channel membership exclusive weekly live show that we do on Saturdays from 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time called Members Talk Live. Find out how you can become a member and appear on the show. All of the information is down in the description below, as well as all of the links to the channels of today's guests. Check them out, and I hope to talk with you very soon. We've got a number of topics to talk about today, so we're just going to read this story from comicmovie.com. New Spider-Man 4 rumors suggest that Sony is planning a huge crossover that will likely excite fans of the Peter Parker world. Spider-Man 4 is still in its early stages of development, with the world's memory of Spider-Man wiped clean in Spider-Man No Way Home. Marvel Studios can start fresh with Peter Parker's story, despite using the same actor, Tom Holland, so it's entirely possible that Spider-Man 4 will not be a sequel, but more of a soft reboot. Established scooper Daniel RPK reported that Marvel Studios Spider-Man 4 will feature more connections to Sony's Spider-Man universe. Following the trend in Spider-Man No Way Home, these connections may be intended to set up a future merger between the separate universes, leading to more Sony characters featuring in Marvel Studios movies. Additional details were not provided, and neither Marvel Studios or Sony have commented on such plans. So, first and foremost, totally rumors. This is an established scooper. He's gotten some things right. He's gotten some things wrong. He's the one who's coming out and saying this. This isn't entirely surprising because we have seen little nuggets of this happening. We had Venom appear in the post-credit scenes of Spider-Man No Way Home. We had Vulture from Homecoming appear in Morbius, which of course are all Sony movies. Marvel just helps with the Spider-Man stuff. So the big question that I have for you guys as fans is, do you want this? Because I'll speak for me personally. I really don't. It is all subjective, but I do not think the Sony Universe movies have been good. I don't really like Venom. I don't like Morbius. Madam Web, we'll get into it. Doesn't look like it's going to interest me. And I'm worried about those movies being attached to the Marvel Universe, especially when the Marvel Universe is already struggling. And you've already got audience members that when a Madam Web trailer drops, for example, they're thinking, is this in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Is this Marvel? There's still not an audience that understands the distinct separation from these universes. And I think merging them or having them bleed into each other is just going to cause more confusion for the audience and is just going to lower the quality for the Marvel Cinematic Universe if these are seen as the same product. But that's just me. What do you guys think? I'll go to you first, Michael. Do you like the Sony universe? Do you want to see them come together with Marvel?
Honestly, man, the Sonyverse has been very confusing. I mean, being a longtime Spider-Man fan ever since I saw Spider-Man 2 in theaters when I was 4 years old, I've always been about like Sony. And then when the Venom movie came out, I was disappointed, but over the years, I've come to somewhat appreciate it more as just like a superhero comedy, even though looking back at the Venom movie I could have got. Venom, I thought was okay. Morbius was probably the greatest thing Marvel has ever done. I'm just kidding.
The greatest meme Marvel ever created.
It's Morbin time. Man, yeah, that was a movie. Anyways, and then I don't know, man. Sony has just been really up and up for me. I mean, the last thing that Sony made that I loved was Spider-Man No Way Home, and that's it. Other than that, basically, I love Spider-Man 1, 2, have a soft spot for 3, love Spider-Man No Way Home. But, so far, what they're trying to do with the Sonyverse is not really interesting to me. When I saw the trailer for Madam Web, it looked like a fan film.
Yeah, we'll get into that later for sure. Do you like Into the Spider-Verse or Across the Spider-Verse?
Oh, yeah. I believe I didn't mention those. Yeah, no, I loved Across the Spider-Verse. I think that was probably in my top 5 favorite movies of this year. Absolutely loved it.
Excellent, man. So, Frank, what about you? Does this excite you at all? Do you like the Sony movies? Would you be interested in seeing them merge with the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Do you think they should? Do you think it's a good idea?
So, ever since they had this this whole fight and debate, that whole scare that we had back in 2019, where Sony is just going to claim like the full ownership of Spider-Man, and that Tom Holland is no longer going to be in the MCU.
They were ending the deal. Yep.
That was a huge shake. Like you both, I was not all for that. No matter how great Tom Holland portrays Spider-Man, and how great they produce the movies, and it has a huge fan base of it. I always had had the same value that I always say, and I keep saying it. Let Marvel be Marvel. Like, that's just it. Let Marvel be Marvel, because it's all under that same umbrella. They know the story. Feige knows well the comic story. Like, let that be part of that universe. But with all these spin-off projects that, like, okay, wonderful, the relationship between Venom and Eddie Brock, like, I love seeing that, like, the comedy duo that those two have together. It works pretty good, and I'd love to see that specifically, and how that would maybe play out. I don't know, in Secret Wars, hypothetically, if that ever were to happen, those things together. But with everything else, because with what I know, and we're going to be talking about Madam Web in a couple minutes, there is a very close tie-in with Secret War. So I want to say, like, I'm in the gray area for this.
To play devil's advocate a little bit, it is definitely my bias to not liking the Sony universe, because technically Marvel's kind of been incorporating the Fox universe into their movies now. We're getting Deadpool 3. He comes from the Fox universe, along with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. He's coming in. He's from the Fox universe. So now you have all these past X-Men movies that are now basically attached to, and with No Way Home, we do have the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield movies now attached to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I'm biased because I like those movies, so it doesn't really bother me that they're in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But they've kind of been doing this with their past properties from other studios already. It's just the fact that it's Sony's universe, and I just really don't like those movies. It would kill me to have to put them next to my MCU collection, because I keep my MCU collection on Blu-ray in release order. So if I had to start insecting Venom and Venom 2 and all these movies in there because they're connected, I would just be really sad.
Oh, listen, in my headcanon, like, the Raimi trilogy is already in that sacred timeline. So I don't care.
End it positively. I'll throw it to you first, Michael. Is there an aspect of the Sony universe coming into the MCU that you would be excited about seeing come into the MCU?
You know what? I'll tell you this. As much as I was just making fun of Morbius, I actually think Jared Leto, if he was given the right material, he really could have actually. Because Jared Leto, people forget, people like to make fun of him a lot. He's a fantastic actor. And him as Morbius, I think could have actually been really cool if they put him in a good movie. So if they decide to continue this by putting him in the MCU, if they write him better, then we can honestly forgive Morbius. Well, not entirely forgive that movie, but if they really put these characters and give them the right material to work with, as far as the actors too, I think they could honestly pull it off, if that makes sense.
Give him the redemption that Jared Leto really needs in the comic book fan eyes.
Off topic real quick, but very similar with Jared Leto when he played Joker, like for Suicide Squad. Not a lot of people liked Suicide Squad. I wasn't a fan of that movie, but Jared got to redeem himself in a 5-minute scene from Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah, I did like his Joker scene in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Not everyone did, but I did.
We'd have to wait and see. We have to wait and see, because right now it's the Sony universe. This upcoming year, as far as I know, they're going to be, there's Madam Web, but there's also, I believe, Kraven, the new Kraven the Hunter, has been delayed to this upcoming year too. So there's that to consider, along with Venom 3 coming next fall. So it's just a matter of, like, did Sony hear us after the whole Morbius fiasco, basically?
Yeah. I was joking with someone the other day. It's not going to be Deadpool 3 that brings people back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's going to be the fact that we get 3 Sony movies next year: Venom 3, Kraven, and Madam Web. That the audience is going to be craving, no pun intended, for the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies once again. Once those 3 movies come, I'm nervous about next year, man. Comic book movie year next year does not look great. I mean, besides Joker 2 and Deadpool 3, there's not much that gets me excited about the next comic book movie year next year. So I'll throw it to you two guys now in 3, 2, 1. Do we buy or sell it? 3, 2, 1. I gotta sell it.
Maybe same thing with Frank, but
going halfway. Maybe.
I
I gotta
probably,
go.
I probably tilted like diagonally to it.
It's
'Cause I'm
slowly
leaning
going
on-
down. It's slowly
Right.
descending. Sticking with the Sony verse, let's talk about Madam Web, because Madam Web had their first trailer come out. Um, I will admit, I did not care about this movie from the minute they announced it. I just didn't care. I don't, like I mentioned in the last topic, don't really care for the Sony universe. Nothing has given me any confidence in them to pull off something that I will enjoy. But Madam Web, I knew her character a little bit from the 90s Spider-Man. I'd seen her there. She was an old woman with, like, she was blind and stuff. So she was kind of interesting. Then they casted Dakota Johnson, and I was like, that doesn't really fit the description. Uh, but, and I'm not the biggest Dakota Johnson fan, I won't lie. So, anyways, this trailer comes out, and, well, I talked about it on the show a little bit already. I'll just say my thoughts really quickly. I thought it was a bad trailer. I thought it was very chaotic. I thought it was messy. I thought it was incoherent. Unless you were like a hardcore reader of the comics, I don't think you would get anything from this trailer. Like a casual audience member watching this in the theaters when this trailer plays, I don't know what they're going to take away from this. It looks like Spider-Man kind of went evil and is going after this girl with psychic powers, but why is he going after people? Like it's very unclear. If they put out another trailer, they should do it soon, and they should make it way more clear as to what exactly they're trying to do with this thing. That's just my thoughts, though. I'll throw it to you first, Frank. What did you think of this Madam Web trailer? Did it get you excited? Were you already excited?
I was expecting this to actually, like, the trailer, as far as the trailer, to be a little bit later. I mean, as far as, like, the strikes was going on, and I know that they delayed this, for that reason. But upon seeing it, like, it was, to me, it was pretty impressive. Like, it did have that 2000s kind of feel, because I think that's where the story is going to be taking place. Like, from what I understand, like in the early 2000s. And to clarify about what you said, Zach, so in the comics, like, yeah, you're right. The character, her real name is Cassandra. She was a blind clairvoyant who was the first Madam Web. However, and I can't remember specifically how the abilities kind of like been passed on, but the character Dakota Johnson's playing is Julia Carpenter, and when I saw her in the first leak photo with the the red jacket, like, that was pretty comic accurate as far as Julia Carpenter goes, and she is a clairvoyant. I'm not too 100% sure how her origin story is, but the way I pictured it is like, okay, this is going to be her origin story. I did not expect them to, like, assemble a team of Spider Women.
You get that, like,
much as,
briefly
like,
glimpsed in the trailer.
Yeah, exactly. And so because you also have Spider Woman playing there, and so, like, I mean, one thing to kind of, like, see the trailer in a different perspective is like, okay, it's good that they don't show too much and don't spoil a lot. I mean, they're not Marvel Studios, that's for sure.
I'm going to disagree with that point. I felt like they showed a lot in this trailer.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, it was a long trailer for a first trailer. It was like almost 3 minutes long. Maybe it was 3 minutes long. So, but didn't they call her Cassandra in the trailer? I thought they called Dakota Johnson's character Cassandra.
I don't remember much of what they call her. All I know is, like, Cassandra was the blind one, clairvoyance, and Julia Carpenter is also clairvoyant.
Okay, so would you say that you're excited for this then? Because you seem to have a lot of knowledge on the Madam Web character.
Yeah, I would say a little. I have to see more to like actually be a little bit more excited. Yeah.
Man, I'm not like a comic book reader, but being a big fan of Spider-Man, I obviously knew who Madam Web was. And when I heard that they were making a Madam Web movie, I was like, okay, I wasn't really excited because I never really cared for the actual character because her story isn't really that interesting. So when I saw the trailer, it was like, honestly, like I said earlier in the live stream, it looked like a fan film, honestly. Like,
yeah.
But it really did look like a fan film. And Dakota Johnson, I mean, I'm not a fan of 50 Shades of Grey, but I've seen her in a couple things, man. I think, like, she's pretty talented. But in this movie, some of the line delivery early on
was in the Amazon with my mother studying spiders. I was like, oh no. I don't know if I got fan film as much as I got a CW show. And I don't know if that's because the diner at the beginning kind of looked like Riverdale, and then the evil Spider-Man guy kind of looked like Zoom from the Flash season 2. But
Oh,
I got big CW vibes from the beginning of the trailer.
Madam Web. I don't know, man. I mean, there's been cases where I've seen some awful trailers, but the movies turned out to be good. Like when I saw the trailer for Ghostbusters Afterlife, I was not excited. Went to go see it when it came out, and really enjoyed it. Being a hardcore Ghostbusters fan, I enjoyed it. So who knows? Maybe it's good. But from what I've seen,
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? Is we trailers can be deceiving in the best ways and the worst ways. Maybe it will be great. I will say the one little glimmer of hope that I had in the trailer was I was intrigued by her. Like, I see this is something with the trailer too that was very unclear. Is she reliving moments over and over again in a time loop, or is she seeing things first and then it cuts back to the present before the thing happens that she just saw? Wasn't quite sure of the interpretation of that in the trailer, because when I first saw the trailer, I thought it was kind of cool how she got like stabbed in the diner and then immediately time looped back before she entered the diner. But then I saw another person discussing how they saw it as she had that vision first of what was going to happen before it happened.
honestly, I think it's both. They, like I said, like you said, they didn't make it clear, but I think it's both. Like she has the ability, like if an event happens, she can go back, but she also has the ability to see what happened before. But then again, if she's able to see what happens before, why would that event happen in the first place? So yeah, it doesn't really make any sense.
I think that ties into what her abilities of what she can do. Like, yeah, she can see into the future, and what she does is like in a way, it's like she manipulates time. So when something happens, when she sees it, and then it's like, okay, what would I do in this scenario? This is how it's going to play out to prevent and to save other lives. So I think that's what we're going to end up seeing as far as uh, both in newer trailers and in the movie itself. So that's just my speculation.
I guess we'll just end this topic with buy or sell. Do we buy or sell this trailer? I'm going to start off with my very first halfway. I don't fully sell it, but I'm also not fully into it. But there's some things in there that have me intrigued.
Same here.
Yeah, we're all going to halfies. Halfies. Yeah. All right. Perfect. Not bad. Madam Web, you have some hope. Kang has been talked about a lot recently. I mean, in life and also in the fictional realm. Jonathan Majors has some stuff going on, and a big story came out from well, maybe not a story, but definitely rumors and speculation came out this past week that has the internet talking like crazy. This comes to us from Screen Rant, and they say the following. In a November 15th report, Deadline revealed that Destin Daniel Cretton has stepped down as the director of Avengers: The Kang Dynasty. Cretton joined Marvel Studios to direct 2001's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and signed on to helm several upcoming projects, including Shang-Chi 2, Wonder Man, and originally The Kang Dynasty. And the fact that Destin Daniel Cretton is continuing to work on the MCU projects means that Marvel Studios likely doesn't have an issue with the director, but is instead taking Kang Dynasty in a different direction. This reinforces the idea that Marvel Studios may be shifting focus away from Kang the Conqueror. Speaking on the House of Art podcast, MCU The Reign of Marvel Studios author Joanna Robinson suggested that Jeff Loveness, who had been attached to Avengers Kang Dynasty as a writer following his work on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, has also been dropped from the project. Robinson's noted that this was because, and this is a quote, Marvel Studios will be moving away from Kang the Conqueror, and Loveness' proximity to the villain was no longer a fit of the changing plans. This perhaps means that Marvel Studios will rework Avengers: The Kang Dynasty completely, changing the future of Kang the Dynasty, or the Kang the Conqueror, and the MCU's multiverse saga drastic. All right, guys. So I'm very curious to hear your thoughts, because I talked about this ad nauseum on the show on Wednesday. I think there are definitely some positives to this. I think the Kang and the multiverse elements of the MCU have been some of the reasons why some audience members have fallen off. The fact that Kang is so connected to Loki, I mean, that's essentially where the idea of Kang was introduced and the variance and what Kang is, and not everyone's watching Loki. He had a pretty good debut in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, but you could also have made him a one-off villain in Quantumania if you really wanted to. By the way, that movie ends with him getting shrunk and destroyed. So I want to hear from you guys. I'll start with you first, Frank. What are the pros? What are some cons that you can see of Marvel Studios abandoning Kang?
So the biggest pro, it's the obvious one that's also talked about, is the suspicion that Marvel Studios is just going to go ahead and bring in Doctor Doom. And ever since, and recalling back when they announced the upcoming 2 Avengers movie, Secret Wars being one of them, those who knows Secret Wars and has read that comic book storyline, like Doctor Doom is a huge essential part to it. It's a core character to that story and to the plot. And and then I'm sitting there and I would go like, okay, so Kang could just be like how Loki was, when he was the main villain in the first Avengers movie, bringing the aliens to New York, and he's, who knows where this is going to go. But then they had that post credit at the very end of Avengers with Thanos. And so that's when everything opened up about like, okay, this is heading to Infinity War. So with this, with Secret Wars coming up, we a lot of us would assume like, okay, Kang is only like this puppet, or all these different theories about Kang's role could be, but that's just part of the pros. As far as the cons, like, it's gonna make people just, I feel like it's gonna make a lot of fans and general audience like just completely give up and say like, okay, well, everything that happened in Loki, Quantumania, like it's just been all for nothing. Like no, this isn't the big bad that we have thought. Like, I'll just, what's the point of just continuing watching all these projects if nothing is getting paid off as far as where each of these previous projects has ended?
I think that's more of a minority in my mind, the people that would be upset about, because I think if you talk to a general audience or casual audience member who just goes to the MCU for the sake of going to the movies and having a good time, I don't think they really know what Kang is supposed to be. I think it's just us in our little bubble of fandom that are looking at articles like this and paying attention to what Kevin Feige's saying and every little detail that we can get dropped about the MCU. That's how we know about Kang and where they were essentially going with Kang. But if you ask a casual audience member, I don't know if that would be a big factor for them.
As far as pros go, I will say like the kind of the cliche thing to say is they could make more room for like more villains. I would love to see them finally do Doctor Doom right for once, because they've had 2 opportunities. Well, technically 3 because of the Fantastic Four movie from the 90s. They've had 3 opportunities with Doctor Doom and they've always failed. The con, unfortunately, is they didn't write Kang off to be just a one-note villain. It wasn't like Hugo Weaving in the first Captain America, where one villain and then boom, he's just done. And you only see him once in freaking Avengers Infinity War, I believe.
Yeah.
But they developed Kang to be such a menacing villain, probably the best villain in the MCU since Thanos, to the point where when he's gone, it might actually be kind of a big thing because, I wasn't a big fan of Quantumania, but Kang was such an interesting and very well fleshed out villain to the point where I wanted to see him more. So it's kind of, I want to say that's kind of like the con. It's going to be odd to see him not be in more films, especially since they've set him up to be one of those villains that could easily show up again.
Have you guys both watched Loki? Loki season 2?
Yeah, no.
Not yet?
Not yet.
Okay, I won't spoil that. I'll just say for Loki season 2, there is a way that you could essentially explain why Kang wouldn't be around anymore. I'll just leave it at that. They leave it open-ended enough at the end of that show.
Mm-hmm.
But with the Doctor Doom angle, which is an angle that a lot of people have been throwing out there, and I get it because people love Doctor Doom. Absolutely, they want to see Doctor Doom come into the MCU. My only worry, maybe not worry, but like gripe, I guess, would be if they brought Doctor Doom in just to pivot away from Kang. It would feel to me like Doctor Doom was plan B, or Doctor Doom was an afterthought, or just like forced in there. And I want them to give care and time to building Doom and building up this character instead of just using him as like a replacement last minute. How do you guys feel about that? Because to me, that would be a big con and could essentially be a big con to the Doom character itself in the MCU.
I agree, man. You know, what you were saying, that feels like a last minute thing. And like I said, not to get off topic, but it's almost kind of like Rise of the Skywalker, where in the last movie they killed off Snoke. Because
yeah,
use my language. We don't have another villain. Let's bring back somebody. Let's bring back Palpatine, which it was cool to see Palpatine come back, but
yeah, there was no point to it.
Exactly. And same thing with Doctor Doom. As I said, I would really like to see Doctor Doom back and done right. Let him just be forced in. Like, if they're going to start fresh with Doctor Doom, especially for people who don't even know who Doctor Doom is, I would really like them to meditate on that character and set him up, especially because new Marvel fans every day, some of them don't know Doctor Doom.
Some people haven't seen Doctor Doom since the 2005 Fantastic Four. If they skipped out on that 2015 Fan Four Stick.
The Fan Four Stick was the greatest thing ever, Zach. I don't.
In some ways,
so we know.
Frank, you seem to be our comic book reader or expert around here. Do you see Doctor Doom being used well if they decided to pivot and just use him as almost like a plan B, or do you think there's another villain in their catalog that you could see them using as well?
What I would say is that we should be glad that there's only one MCU title project being released for this upcoming year, because what that means is like, okay, Marvel Studios, in the way they're hearing the fans and they're hearing like what's going on, they're seeing what's going on, so they're going to take their time to kind of rearrange, take away, and really spend a lot of time on how to incorporate a better story as far as the villain goes. Yes, I would love that Doctor Doom gets finally introduced and finally become this force to be reckoned with, more powerful. And this is where it gets tricky, because both Doctor Doom and Kang are very closely tied to the Fantastic Four, given Kang's history as Nathaniel Richards, who's a descendant of Reed Richards. So that's something to consider, as well as Victor Von Doom, who also has a very, very close connection to a lot of not just the Fantastic Four, but the Avengers as well.
I think we can just end this topic now with just one last big question. Do you think the pros outweigh the cons of abandoning Kang? I'll start with you again, Frank. What do you think? Do you think there's more pros to abandoning Kang, or do you think there's more cons? Because for me, I'll say I think there's more pros. I think for the greater good of the brand and the franchise, I think the multiverse and the Kang angle is some of the ways that it's gotten too fantastical, too out there for some casual audience members. And if you can scale it back to making it a little bit more in the realism and the groundedness that the MCU had, even at the beginning of like Iron Man and the first Avengers, where it was fantastical, but it wasn't so outlandish. What do you think? Are there more pros, or do you think there's more cons?
Oh no, I'm definitely with you, on the same page as you are. There's definitely more pros than cons to it.
I'm kind of like in the mixed, honestly, if that makes sense, because I understand the cons and I understand the pros, but I'm not exactly sure, in my opinion, because I think there's some benefits to it, but then I think there's from it.
We'll just end it there with buy or sell. Do we buy or sell the idea of Marvel Studios pivoting away and abandoning Kang? I'm going to go half again, because I personally like Kang. I would like to see it continue, but for the greater good of the casual audience, I could see the benefits of abandoning it. I think we're all halfway, aren't we?
Yeah, we all
are. It looks like you're all halfway. All right, so before we're out of time, we only got a couple minutes left. Let's just quickly talk about this. Fantastic Four rumors are going around like wildfire right now because of Deadline's article, which reads this. After months of speculation over who might play Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic in Marvel Studios' Fantastic Four, the wait may finally be over. While a deal is far from being done, sources tell Deadline that three-time Emmy nominee Pedro Pascal is in talks to play the leader of the iconic superhero team. Insiders add that the scheduling is still being worked out, but multiple sources close to the negotiations are saying it's heading in the right direction for Pascal to do this and his other future projects. Pedro Pascal is a little bit older than I thought they would go for Reed Richards. I think he's like 40, 45, 46 years old. Which if you're gonna have a character, I was thinking they were gonna go for like the mid 30s years old, maybe, so that they could have like a 10 or 20-year run with this character with the Fantastic Four. That being said, I'm not against this casting if this indeed happens, because like it says in the article, the deal is not the ink is not dry yet. But Pedro Pascal is a great actor. Pedro Pascal is someone who is really hot right now. Everything he's been in has been really well. He has been good in it, because Wonder Woman 1984 I don't think was great, but he was good in it. So what do we think about this rumored casting, guys? Do you see Pedro Pascal as our Reed Richards?
100%. I'm all in for it.
Yeah.
Pedro Pascal is one of my top favorite actors in Hollywood right now. I mean, when you consider The Mandalorian, when The Last of Us, I will have to. I'm gonna feel like the opposite of what you just said, Zach, in regards to 1984. Even though the film was not good, him as a villain really worked well with me.
I did like him in that movie. I didn't like the movie, but I liked him.
Oh, okay, there we go. All right, so we're on the same page on that.
Yep.
Awesome. So that and what was it called? With
Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
That one. Listen,
yes.
You put all those 4 roles, you can absolutely say that this guy has amazing range. So I would say absolutely he can absolutely pull off a Reed Richards. I mean, Oscar Isaac is already in the MCU, so let's just put his platonic husband in there as well.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Michael, what about you? What do you think of this potential casting of Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards?
Oh man, you know what? I want to say like I'm above the middle. Like I love Pedro Pascal. The Last of Us series was my favorite show of this year. I mean, I literally have Last of Us on my arm right here.
Ooh,
oh wow,
Firefly,
right there. So I loved Pedro. I mean, crazy to think how far he's came, because he's been acting for 20 years and how big he's gotten right now. He's got, like Frank said, this guy has so much range, and I have no doubt that he will do a fantastic job as Reed Richards. But I feel like I don't think it was the wrong choice. I just think it was an interesting choice out of all actors they could have thought of. Like I remember there was that one rumor about Adam Driver, and they were doing like posters of Adam Driver. I'm like, you know what? I could see Adam Driver.
It might sound weird, but I've always thought Adam Driver had like the body for a stretchy man. You know what I mean? Like there's just something about the way that he's built where I can totally see his body stretching. Whereas with Pedro Pascal, not as easily, but you know, special effects and stuff, they'll make it work, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, he'll be spending time in the gym, so
that as well.
Unpopular opinion, without going too much off topic, unpopular opinion. I think Miles Teller could have been good as Reed Richards if they decided to make a good movie, but I don't think that was on Josh Trank's mind.
Yeah, I thought the whole cast in Fantastic was great. It was just the movie that they were in. I completely agree with you on that one.
But yeah, Pedro Pascal. I don't know if it is a rumor or if it was it. Did they say if it was actually confirmed?
It sounds like they're in negotiations still. Sources
in the final
talks.
Inside,
they're saying that it's looking like it's going to get signed, but it's not signed yet.
Okay. Well, considering Pedro Pascal's look right now, if he shaves or something, whatever they do, and if it works, then it works. Honestly, I think he'll do a fine job. Honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess that just brings us to buy or sell. Do we buy or sell Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards? And this is the second buy. I think we're all buying it. Yep. Big thumbs up from Frank and big thumbs up from me and Michael. So we're buying it. We're doing it. That will conclude the show. A little bit shorter today because, like I said, we started a little bit late. But I appreciate you two gentlemen being here with me. I appreciate you guys talking and taking time out of your day to spend it with me and talk about some of these stories. So please tell people where they can find you. Michael, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so if you guys want to go ahead and take a look, I am Michael. You can just look at my name, Michael Entity. I do movie reviews. I'm also currently working on a film right now, and you can follow me on Instagram. It's just Michael_Entity. That's basically where you can find me. You guys can even request movies for me to watch, and I'll even review them. And yeah, without going too much into it, yeah, that's how you can look me up.
Yeah, so it is Optimistic Forever. You guys can find me on YouTube and Instagram and Twitter X and follow me both there. And I'll be starting my own live stream pretty sooner than you think. So yeah, check out the link and subscribe and hope to see you guys there.
Awesome.
Awesome, man. That's exciting. Well,
Hmm.
once again, thank you guys so much for being here. And thank you for being here as well. So the question now goes to you guys. What do you think of all these topics? What do you think about the Madam Web trailer, Sony merging with the MCU, Reed Richards being played by Pedro Pascal, and Kang, possibly being abandoned by the MCU? Comment down below and let us know all your thoughts and opinions. We'd love to hear them.